2018. This November, voters will cast ballots for a number of candidates, and they'll also be asked to vote on those constitutional amendments.
Now, one makes it harder for the state to swap land, and Channel 3 Chief Capitol reporter Susan Raff is taking us to Haddam right now, where there was a fight to protect some prime waterfront property.
Some of the most beautiful, picturesque land is right here in Haddam along the Connecticut River. A private developer wanted to build a resort here with a hotel and restaurants, but he didn't own the land.
It was really about the big issue of, with public lands, should there always be a public voice?
Eric Hammerling works for the Connecticut Forest and Park Association. He says the state was ready to make a swap. 17 acres of public land along the river in exchange for 87 acres of forest land. One big issue, the waterfront property is worth a lot more, and people in town didn't feel this was a fair deal at all. Yet the legislature and Governor Malloy signed off on it. In the end, the deal fell apart, but the final decision on land swapping will soon be decided by voters. A constitutional amendment on the November ballot, the first environmental one ever, would require public hearings and a 2/3 majority in both chambers of the legislature. In other words, a lot more scrutiny. Every year, there are about a dozen proposals to sell, trade, or give away public lands. Many are not controversial. This year, the legislature took away land where the Connecticut Regional Market was in Hartford and gave it to a nonprofit development group. Farmers, who had been there for years, had no say.
Transparency is really the issue. What we're fighting for is to make sure that before public lands could be sold, swapped, or given away, there's always a public hearing.
So this November, voters will go to the polls and vote on an unprecedented constitutional amendment, which gives residents of the state a greater say in what happens to state land. In Haddam, Susan Raff, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.